No, it definitely don't matter. You know, the odds can't fight for him. So, it is what it is. I expect him to, box a little bit, but I also expect him, to try to walk me down and be the bigger man. So, we expect everything. Both of us got a lot to lose, but a lot to gain. So, I think that's why everybody should tune in, because it's going to be a hell of a fight.
In a live talk not long ago, Terence Crawford warned Canelo Alvarez about their upcoming fight in September. When it comes to training camps, Canelo Alvarez is fully focused on his own. He is getting better at what he does and staying focused before his next test. His intense planning shows how determined he is to give another outstanding performance. Mosley also said that Canelo Alvarez and Terence Crawford would have a great fight because they are both very skilled, but he thinks Canelo's size will make the difference, since many people don't realize how big Canelo really is. Even though Crawford may be seen as the more skilled boxer, Mosley pointed out Canelo's two-weight class edge and predicted a smooth win. He still respects Crawford's skill, though.
It's been a great fight. I think both guys are great fighters, but I think Canelo's just too big, and they mistake him as being just a guy at 168, not a regular guy, and Crawford being the more talented. But that's not the case. They're both talented. Yeah. But the only thing is, Canelo has him by two-weight division. So I think that Canelo beats him pretty easily. But we'll see. If Crawford does good, I mean, kudos to Crawford. I'm happy for him. If he can pull off, great. But my mentor, my mind's telling me that Canelo's gonna probably be.
Mosley also stated that for Crawford to win, he may need to build a slower-paced battle with good movement and distance control. He also said that using space doesn't mean running, and Crawford could pull off the upset if he could stay just outside the pocket and avoid big fights. Mosley leaned with Canelo, hailing Crawford as a true fighter, but warned that the weight difference could be too great.
I think that maybe I don't have to make all the way boring, but maybe it has to be boring spots. Yeah. So just because he's moving around and keeping his distance don't mean that he's running, right? Yeah. So if he can move and just stay a little bit outside the pocket long enough, then maybe he can win. But I'm thinking Canelo's gonna win. I think Canelo's gonna get a fight because Crawford is a fighter. He's a true fighter. He's a real fighter, but he's in a wrong weight division.
Terence Crawford, on the other hand, predicted that Canelo will fight like himself, using his boxing talents, while also trying to walk him down and impose his stature. Crawford agreed that Canelo was stronger than him and said he was ready for anything and ready to fight Canelo's style.
I'm expecting Canelo to beat Canelo. He's the bigger man. I expect him to, box a little bit, but I also expect him, to try to walk me down and be the bigger man. So, we expect everything in there. No, it definitely don't matter. The odds can't fight for him. So, it is what it is.
Furthermore, Terence Crawford stated that fans should tune in on September 13th for a fantastic fight between two elite boxers. One is attempting to keep dominance, while the other tries to usurp that position. He also mentioned that both have a lot to lose and a lot to win, making this a must-see event.
It's going to be a spectacular fight. You got two great fighters, going head-to-head, and trying to dethrone. You got one fighter trying to dethrone the other one, and you got the other one trying to, stay at the top. So, it's going to be a great fight. Both of us got a lot to lose, but a lot to gain. So, I think that's why everybody should tune in, because it's going to be a hell of a fight.
Robert Garcia, on the other hand, responded to Canelo Alvarez's comment about Terence Crawford being better than Floyd Mayweather by saying that the comparison makes no sense. He stressed that Floyd and Crawford have very different fighting styles, so their fights cannot be compared. Garcia also pointed out that Canelo was only 23 years old and still maturing when he met Mayweather. While recognizing Crawford's speed and keen skills, Garcia made it plain that the two opponents are not the same, and the scenarios are vastly different.
I think it's totally different. I think, you know, Canelo was only 23, he was very young. I think this fight's gonna be great. I do see Crawford maybe pulling it up because he's, you know, he's got good footwork, good speed. But I don't think that they're close. I don't similar those two fights, Canelo and Floyd. I think they're just different styles. I mean, Floyd and Crawford.
Finally, Terence Crawford stated that being known as the pound-for-pound king is entirely subjective. He mentioned that some people already regard him as number 1, while others place him at number 2 or 3. Nonetheless, he stated unequivocally that defeating Canelo Alvarez in a weight class other than his natural division would surely cement his status as the world's finest pound-for-pound boxer.
That's opinionated, you know. Some people got me as number 1 right now. Some people got me number 2. Some people got me number 3. You know, it's opinionated, you know. But yeah, for sure, beating the likes of Canelo, you know, in a division that is not my natural division would definitely cement my legacy as the best pound-for-pound fighter in the world.
Furthermore, Manny Pacquiao stated that Canelo Alvarez versus Terence Crawford is a fantastic bout, but he thinks Canelo has an advantage because Crawford is gaining weight. He urged Crawford to focus on maintaining and even enhancing his speed and strength, as it is tough to increase weight while keeping speed. Pacquiao emphasized the value of speed, advising Crawford to work on his quickness, footwork, and power.
Canelo Crawford, good fight. Good fight. Canelo has advantage because Crawford moving up, but my advice to Crawford is like maintain the speed, improve the speed, and improve the strength, because it's hard to go up in high weight and maintain your speed. So speed is the key. Like he should focus on speed, footwork, and improve the power.
Karma Momotan thinks the forthcoming September megafight between Canelo Alvarez and Terence Crawford is significant, with Crawford stepping up to weight divisions to compete for the undisputed super middleweight belt. He recognized that smaller boxers stepping up rarely succeed, but he thinks Crawford has a legitimate chance. Monoton says that's a significant leap, but he sees it as a 50-50 battle. He stated he had no idea who will win and feels it will come down to who acts best on the night. In the end, he stated that the fans are the true winners in this battle.
It's a big jump for sure, but you know, I feel like Crawford definitely has a great chance. You know, I feel like it's a 50-50 fight. You know, I really don't know who will come out on top of that one. I feel like the better man that night will win. So you know, I feel like the fans are the winners in that one.
Keith Thurman mentioned that Canelo will be himself as always, but the main attention is on Crawford. He stated that Crawford is pushing outside of his comfort zone by increasing his weight, and everything is dependent on his training, preparedness, and ability to stay flexible. Thurman noted that Crawford must rely on strategies such as his jab, feints, and angles. He stressed how Charlo responded after being felled and avoid additional harm, showing how clever movement and protection can restrict Canelo's power. He went on to say that, while it may not win the fight, it could help Crawford survive and adhere to the boxing idea of hitting without being hit.
Canelo is really, you know, Canelo's going to be Canelo, man. He's really, I think all the variables lie on Crawford. You know, absolutely. Crawford is confident, but Crawford is outside of his zone. You know, it's all about the training camp, the preparation, you know, the extra weight, but still being agile, you know. I believe that it's tactics and game plan. I hope he works behind that jab. I hope he works behind the feint, and I hope he uses small little angles and different things, almost like when Charlo got dropped, right? After he got dropped, he never got dropped again. And because he never got dropped again, there's evidence that a nice mover, keeping your hands up, you actually can not get hurt by Canelo. Now, that was not the keys to victory, because that was the keys of survival. But survival and tactics of not getting hit, the game of boxing is hit and not get hit. Absolutely. So, to have the defense, to use the leg.
Brian Norman, a senior, stated that he has always backed Terence Crawford and will continue to do so. He referred to Crawford as his guy and stated clearly that he is 100% behind Crawford. He praised Crawford not only as a brilliant fighter, but also for setting a good example. Norman remarked that this is Crawford's era, and everything about him is solid. He also noticed Crawford's support for his children and his training sessions with them, showing a side of him that few boxers see. He admires Crawford's ability to avoid controversy and unfavorable press. When asked for his opinion, Norman claimed, "Crawford will win by decision."
I'm always going my dog Crawford, man. I'm with Crawford, man. I'm Crawford. I'm team Crawford all the way, and I'm not just saying that, you know, for no other reason. I just think he's a great fighter. This is his era right now. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely, he's a very great role model.
Yeah. But man, everything about Crawford is solid so far. So I'm going with Crawford.
Yeah, you know, you see these videos that he drops of him, you know, and his kids training and stuff like that. And, you know, you don't see a lot of boxers do that.
I'm with all of that. I'm with all of that. He ain't out here being negative. He ain't out here in the, you know what I'm saying, the news, you know what I'm saying, giving bullshit. Like, it's all good right now.
If you could give us a prediction for that fight, Crawford.
Shannon Briggs believes Terence Crawford will win by stoppage. He stated that he has known Crawford since he was a small boy and is happy to see him reach such a high level. Briggs feels Crawford's ability to fight from both stances, combined with his great boxing intelligence, would confuse Canelo. He explained that Canelo has previously suffered against slick boxers and expects Crawford to wear him down and finish him in the latter rounds.
I think it's gonna be a great fight. I got Crawford by stoppage, and I've known him since he was a little kid, you know, 12 years old. So to see him now fighting for a title in such a big fight, it's a great experience, great to see.
Last question for me then, how do you think Crawford stops him? How do you think he's able to work Canelo enough for him to stop the fight, knock him down? How do you think this is possible by Crawford style?
He gonna box him. He can fight both ways. He gonna trick him up. You know, one thing Canelo showed is that he can be outboxed. But I think this time in the late rounds, you know, I think Crawford's gonna have something for him.
Lamont Roach showed admiration for Canelo and Terence Crawford, calling them both tremendous athletes. When asked to determine a winner, he stated that it was tough because he backed both combatants. However, he stated that Canelo's striking strength worries him. He added that Canelo hits incredibly hard, and that kind of strength makes him nervous about how the fight will go. According to Edgar Baranga, Crawford should enter the ring with confidence, stick to his style, and depend on his strong ring knowledge. He underlined that Crawford needs to remind people why he is a two-time uncontested winner. Berlanga cited the weight differential as a big influence, comparing it to himself moving up to heavyweight, where the size and strength disparities would be obvious. He stated that Crawford is taking on a significant job against a top-tier opponent and deserves kudos for moving up. Even in loss, Berlanga stated that it would be a risky move, and he has full faith in Crawford's abilities.
Gotta go in there, and he just gotta fight him. You know what I'm saying? He gotta go in there. I think Crawford just gotta go in there and do what he gotta do. You know what I'm saying? He gotta just be Crawford. You know, show his IQ, show him why he's a two-time undisputed, you know, world champion, and go in there with confidence. You know what I'm saying? That's all it is. You know, it's a big weight difference, a big weight jump. You know, that could be a difference in the fight. You know, because obviously, you know, it's like me jumping up to heavyweight. Obviously, I'm a feel the power. I'm a feel that size difference, you know, compared to my other fights. So I just think that he got to go in there and just be himself. And I said, if he loses, you know, we'll just all know that, hey, you know, he just jumped up 2 weight classes to be great. You know what I'm saying? It's not. He's testing himself. He's testing himself a great fighter. So, and I don't doubt him. You know, I don't got no doubt in my mind. You know, he's a 2-time undisputed world champion for a reason. So.
Berlanga also mentioned that nothing will likely throw Crawford off, except Canelo's physical strength and size. He claimed that Crawford will not be able to stop Canelo, so the fight will be determined by his strategic approach. When asked who he favors, Berlanga revealed that he supports Crawford and feels he can win. Nonetheless, he acknowledged that Canelo's stature, power, and experience are important factors. He also claimed that Canelo has faced bigger boxers before and will not be affected by Crawford's strength. Berlanga thinks the matchup is even.
I don't think none's gonna phase him in that fight. You know what I'm saying? Maybe the power, maybe the size. You know what I'm saying? And you know, Canelo, he's not knocking Canelo out. So, he just got to go in there just IQ.
Would you lean towards Canelo still in that fight?
I got faith in him. I think Crawford could do it. You know what I'm saying? I think he could do it. Just like I said, just the size. The only that throws the fight off is the size, and you know, obviously the power. And Canelo's IQ too, because Canelo got IQ, you know what I'm saying? And Canelo fought much bigger guys, you know? So I know the Crawford's power ain't gonna phase him. I know Crawford's size ain't gonna phase him either, you know what I'm saying? So, but for me, I think it's a 50-50 fight.
Roy Jones Jr. stated that he does not care about face-offs or who looks tougher, but rather what each fighter can do in the ring. Crawford looks to him to be calm, attentive, and prepared for the moment he has worked so hard for. Roy thinks Canelo may not have the same hunger he once had. Despite this, he still enjoys being in the spotlight and wants to give them good performances. He stated that Canelo can win if he fights a perfect bout, but he is unsure whether Canelo is capable of doing so right now. Finally, Roy mentioned that the key will be Crawford's ability to manage Canelo's strength and consistent pressure.
No attention to the pushing and shoving. I pay no attention to the weight factor. What I pay attention to is the skill level that both guys show in and out of the ring. And what I'm seeing is I see a hungry Crawford, a Crawford that has been looking for the opportunity for a long time, finally getting the opportunity, and really ready to grab the opportunity. And with Canelo, I see a guy who not necessarily hungry, but loves to entertain, loves to give us the big fights. Always tried to give the big fights. He finds a way to give us big fights. Not gonna always win them, but he always tries to give them to us. So he'll be a guy that, if he shows up and does the exact right thing, he can win the fight. If he don't do the right thing, which I don't see him doing, I don't know why he would at this point in his career. I don't know. It'll all be predicated upon how well Terence can take his point.
Roy also mentioned that he is unconcerned with the size gap between the two because true skill can work in any weight class. Crawford, he says, is so technically proficient that size is irrelevant. Roy's major concern is whether Crawford can withstand punches from someone who is naturally larger, although he thinks Crawford has certainly trained with larger fighters such as super middleweights or light heavyweight. He emphasized that when a combatant holds actual talent, their tools progress with them. Roy thinks that it is more important to have talent and ring expertise than stature.
You know how to box. When you're as skillful as Terence Crawford is, weight don't really matter much. All that matters with the weight is can you take the punch. And I'm sure you've been sparring with super middles and light heavies, so I'm sure you probably can take the punch. So that's the only thing when you got skill. Now if you don't have a skill, you can't take it up. Because you're gonna lose your punch, you're gonna lose everything. But when you got skill, all your stuff that you have goes up with you. You talk to the GOAT, I went out with a heavyweight.
No, it's a lot of the people, which is why I brought up, would use the weight as an advantage for Canelo. But I agree, and you're right. Canelo fights obviously taller fighters all the time and wins. It's about skill as opposed to, a lot of the time anyway, as opposed to weight.
Yeah, well, like I said, I'm not really worried about the weight. I'm worried about the skill level that they use.
Abel Sanchez lauded both Terence Crawford and Canelo Alvarez as clever and effective boxers, but preferred Canelo due to his size and defensive ability. He claimed that Canelo has taken massive punches from strong opponents such as Gennady Golovkin, Dmitry Bivol, and Sergey Kovalev without exhibiting indications of weakness, displaying his ability to absorb power. Sanchez pointed out that Crawford gets hit more even at 150 pounds, and that no matter how fantastic Crawford looks or how much weight he gains, facing someone with Canelo's strength and size is a very different job.
First of all, Terence Crawford is a great fighter, but so is Canelo. I think that, in my opinion, their IQ is similar, except Canelo doesn't get hit like Crawford gets hit. In my opinion, Canelo's a bigger man. Not that he started out as a bigger man, but he's now a bigger man. He has been hit by not only Gennady, who's one of the biggest punchers that a coach I've ever seen, but he's also been hit by Bivol, by Kovalev, who's a big puncher. You know, he's been hit by big guys. Crawford had a hard time with a 154-pounder who hit him often. So I think that no matter how much weight he puts on, no matter how smart he thinks he is or how big he thinks he is, he's going to be getting hit by a truck.
Sanchez mentioned that Crawford might perform well in the early rounds, using his speed and timing to win a few rounds. Still, as the fight progresses, he expects Canelo's strength and experience to take precedence. Sanchez feels Canelo will settle in, start landing clean blows, and fight with better control by the 6th or 7th round. Sanchez praised Canelo's upper body movement, head control, defensive awareness, and powerful punches, despite the fact that he moves his feet less. He thinks Canelo will either stop Crawford late or win clearly on the scorecards, and Crawford's crew must be prepared to intervene if the fight becomes too one-sided. That And I think that, as with Kell Brook and Gennady, the speed and talent will be evident early on in the bout. I think Canelo will lose 3 or 4 rounds at first, but if he starts pounding on him, as he has in his last 6 or 7 fights, after the 6th or 7th round, it becomes a sparring session for him. You know, he just throws bombs away, without thinking what happens to him. However, he plays great defense. Unfortunately, his feet do not move as well as I would like them to, but his upper body is really amazing. He can slip punches quite successfully. He has wonderful hands. He parries quite effectively and makes big, massive shots. He may not make as many shots, but the ones he does make are powerful. So, I think Canelo stops him or wins a wide decision in the end, and the corner must consider Crawford's safety and health. That's all for today's show. So, what are your thoughts about this? Please share your ideas in the comments box, and if you like the video, subscribe and like it. Also, check out our other movies on the screen to the right.